Good morning. We are live. We are on YouTube. We are introducing the twager.com website. Let's go to the homepage. So, we are in rainy Louisville, Kentucky this morning, and I wanted to share the introduction to a website that is freshly built. In fact, if you're seeing this video for the first time, you are among the first less than 100 visitors who have even seen the website. So, the point being that we have conquered some artificial intelligence and robotic process automation and contrived a value formula for golfers who are participating in the PGA tournaments and more importantly that are in the DraftKings and other betting. On our homepage. So what we're going to do today is walk through why our golf sheets are better than the rosters that you see that are copy and pasted throughout the internet. We don't do that. What we have going here is what we call EV plus EV picks because a lot of the top places that produce golf sports betting rosters and recommendations do not use the expected value of players. They use wagering odds and betting to make sure that that they win, and that's what a lot of the sponsored websites are, to get you to bet on even outcomes. They want you to break even. So what we do is we use custom field strength modifiers to figure out. Let's get right into the formula. The strokes gained, approach play, off the tee performance, putting, birdie rate, bogey avoidance, course history, recent form, and salary based. Okay, that's the gist of the formula. In fact, let me. This is an old version of our formula. I've been doing this for a number of years. My background is in IT. I actually worked in the artificial intelligence department at a major oil company doing some robotic process automation and some other network and software implementations. So I've got a background in IT and I know how to manipulate the internet to produce stats. But once you have the stats, what's important to do is that you need to use those stats and come up with a formula of what is the most important thing. And what I found is in sports betting, the cut making probability is probably the most important thing. So what we do is we put a higher average percentile in our formula, 0.55%. The bogey avoidance is 0.2%. Greens in regulation, the birdies, the sand saves, and one putting, your scrambling, ability to scramble and driving accuracy. Of course, like I said, a lot of this has changed now, and that changes based on the daily uh, requirements of the particular golf course. Driving accuracy at some courses is not the most important thing. On other courses, if you can't drive the ball, then you're going to do horrible. So that percentage would rise. The formula is dynamic, it changes. It's not a set formula. Every week, it's tailored. So that when we produce a spreadsheet, we have the exact um, an exact formulation that values the players based on their abilities, based on the golf course, based on the weather, based on their social media accounts and what they're posting, based on whether they've withdrawn from other events. A lot of times, what these players do is, I won't say they get paid not to show up, but sometimes it's better that they withdraw. And many times they'll withdraw either after the contest has started, they finished one hole. Um, these are the kind of things that we need to watch out for, and that the rest of the internet is full of these wager sites that basically lure you into betting on these guys that are not even going to start, much less produce points. So the formula is dynamic. I have to keep iterating that, but um, let's get into one of our betting sheets. Let's see if I can pull up one. This is this was last week, I believe. Yeah, Siwoo Kim. This is what we produced. We sent it out. Um, it is what it is. Some things are wrong, some things are right. But if you actually compare the leaderboard to our picks, um, you'll see um, the first pick on there is Siwoo Kim. We didn't pick Scotty. We didn't pick Jordan. This column F right here is the Hoki. That's your EV, expected value. So the expected value is the most important thing because it bases the salary versus the average points they get per game. It comes up with a composite score. Actually, that score is here. This is their salary. The composite score is basically the derived robotic process automation, artificial intelligence. That's the value formula that we're using. We're using a value formula. The value formula is a host of at least a dozen attributes and many times other attributes that produce a score. You could go by that alone. You could go by the composite score alone and pick through these players. In addition to the composite score, we use an average of salary and points to come up with a value and then subtract it from our composite score, which is basically the EV. Now, I can explain this a little more, the mathematical portion of it. What you need to know for right now is this EV is the final say. As we see, as we're going down through the list, the expected value, the most important thing, and really what separates us from every betting site in the world, is Scotty Scheffler was rated a 46.8, which is comparatively good as you're going down the list. He's higher than Jordan. He's higher than Brooks Koepka. He's higher than Keith Mitchell. Of course, Aaron withdrew because he's a multimillionaire and doesn't need to golf this week. So, but as we get closer to the FedEx standings and the points, then that will also play into our value-added formula. We've got to look at a player, and somehow we've got to come up with a numerical value for that player. Oh, he is on the bust line for the FedEx. He needs to play well this week. uh, or the leaderboard of the FedEx. It's a metric. And in golf, everything is a metric. Every putt is a metric. Every change of putter, every player got in an argument with their wife or had an affair with the TV announcer or uh, got booed at the Ryder Cup. Everything affects these golfers' scores, but when they're pros, the best pros are unaffected. One example might be Scotty and his ability to uh, get arrested the day before and then come back and win a tournament. I mean, the guy is at his age. I'm considerably older than Scotty, but if I had that poise and that knowledge and that ability and be that young, I could be very successful. So, as we continue on through our list here, let me reiterate this is what you will receive. These spreadsheets are what you're going to get in your mailbox. These spreadsheets have the ability to put other columns in. If you want to put good, or if you want to put a number, say you come up with your own little value. This is number one golfer. I'm going to add a one. And you know how to use spreadsheets. You can obviously go into a formula and you could say, well, Scotty's number one. I want to subtract. Let's see. I'm going to subtract Scotty's expected value, and I'm only going to take one because he's a number one player. So I'm going to take this EV here, and I'm going to put he's a his F2, his F2. We're going to subtract that from his new format. We put him as number one. We're going to subtract from his I2. I'm sorry, it's I3. So I3. We're going to subtract his F3 from his I3, and that should result in reducing his value to 25.2. And we could do this. That formula now is set for every player that we want to put a 2 or a 10. And I'm not trying to explain basic spreadsheets. I'm just letting you know this formula here, we can drag it down. If you're familiar with Excel spreadsheets, it's going to take, it's going to do all the math for you, and you can do that for the entire column. So it's kind of unique in Excel spreadsheets. It'll actually pull the formula, which is basically his expected value. We're only going to take one away from his expected value, and we might take 10 or 2 away from Brooks Koepka. And look at that. If you take his expected value of 84 and subtract 10, you're at 74. It's actually going to work the opposite of that because the lower score is best in the expected value here. But well, let's go back. We're getting off track here a little bit. I just wanted to show the value of these sheets. They're not that hard to understand. We could go into super complicated robotic process automation, whatever. Column F, Siwoo Kim. The lower, the better. He was a 26.2 last week. He finished very well. Another player we had was Hitsatsuni, which I'm saying it wrong. I know it's Hitsuni. I'm still saying it wrong. Okay. Davis Thompson, who didn't make the cut. We have some of the other guys in here who finished okay. Wyndham Clark, we missed. Look at that. He was a 53. How in the world did Wyndham Clark put together that round of golf that he did? Let's explain something to you. The fact that Wyndham did so well goes into next week's formula. So all the players that do well have a composite number generated by the previous week's finish position. So the golfers that are hot and top golfers are going to receive a higher. So next week's sheet, which I think it's ready already. I think I've already got next week's sheet. Let's pull up. Let's see here. This is the sheet for this week. And I think Wyndham actually pulled out. Yeah, he did. If he did play this week, he would have been a 42, which is in comparison with the number one player being a 37. This is this week's value formula. 37, and I've already marked the players that I feel like are good this week. So you'll see Ricky Fowler is a good pick. Hideki Matsuyama is a good pick. Wyndham was going to be a good pick. Alex Smalley, Batia, Keith Mitchell is a great pick. Look at that. He's a 32. He's a 32. And this is what you'll receive. You'll receive the sheet. And like I said, you can, I usually just put X's and then I go back and change the color so I know which golfers to look at. But there's some golfers in here. You get down to, and some of these aren't bad picks. Let's find some that are. There's one there. This golfer here, Matthew McCarty. He's actually probably a blue pick. He's a 37. But look just above him, Ryan Gerard. Now, Ryan Gerard, to me, if I was going off of just personal, how I feel about his game and where he's at, I would say I'm not real keen on Ryan Gerard as a golfer. But when I look at his statistical analysis, coupled with his salary and using the mathematical process that we use, this column right here, this column right here, the column F, this is our value added. It's the last column that we use, and it's what determines which golfers are best. You can see that there's some really good bargain. McCarty would be one of those. Tony's a good bargain. Let's see what else we get here. Jaeger, Tom Kim's down there. Zachary, brand new guy. As far as making his way, he's been on the tournament for some time now. But as of late, this guy has a lot of ability and a very small salary. So the value of this spreadsheet is it doesn't look at what the gambling industry has produced as far as his salary of $7,200. It looks at Zachary on the basis of his numbers and his fit to the golf course and how his numbers reflect to his fit of the golf course. So what you're receiving when you get one of our spreadsheets, and let's pop back out to the, let's go back out to our, this is, where is our, well, we don't want to look at that. Where did here we are. We're at T-Wager. So T-Wager here, this is the website. You go to downloads, and for right now, we are we have 3 downloads. Um, I am going to make them all free, so if you see $8, this is what in the future, these, that pro analytical player breakdown, that's your EV, formula. That's the actual, um, spreadsheet that you'll receive if that's for $8, what I was showing you. But we're also just gonna produce, like, a roster and a salary just for people that want to look and maybe do all their own math. They just want a nice little clean spreadsheet. It has the name and it has the salary, uh, of the golfer, and then we get a little more energetic here with our roster with fantasy points averaged with the salary. So it does a little math for you. That website actually starts producing a numerical value. And what you need to realize is that salary, uh, produced by the gambling industry to lure you into betting for certain players, versus the fantasy points that these guys receive is incongruent. We'll say that it's not ideal. And what you'll find is when you divide the salary by the fantasy points, you get a number. And sometimes that number is astronomical. So Scotty Scheffler is $15,000 and he's producing X amount of fantasy points. Well, his value with that salary puts you down. If you pick 6 players and Scotty's one of them, his salary is so great versed on the fantasy points he produces, you're not going to do well. Versus one of the newer guys on tour that are making their way and is producing enormous amount of points and their salary is very low. Well, the math will show you, hey, pick the guy, and it's a simple basic formula. It doesn't go into the analytical robotic process of artificial intelligence that we use. But the recommendation is to use the pro player, because the things that go into that salary, uh, you have to realize if you're using especially like DraftKings, uh, there are many formulas for if a golfer gets 3 birdies in a row, if all of their rounds are under 70, if they get an eagle, and all those metrics are configured within the parameter of our EV. It's our expected value versus the gambling. The industry just doesn't even look at that. And a lot of these websites you'll pull up and they'll have all their SGs and their birdies and their the amount of, I mean, there'll be stats and they'll have a spreadsheet and they'll list all the stats. Well, I can copy and paste that and put on my website. It does you little value. You can't compare. You can't weight what the driving accuracy might mean this week versus next week. You can see their driving accuracy and go down the list and compare every player, but what good does that do you if you can't compare all the statistical analysis at once and come up with a unique value formula for a player? I think this is unique to the market, and I think that this will catch on once I start producing this. I'm sure I'll be copied, but I don't think that they have their formula tweaked. I've been working on this formula for years. Uh, and like I said, my background in the industry is a robotic process engineering. And uh, I have the background and the proven, I work for a major oil company. I was in their IT department and I produced a lot of very valuable time saving, uh, and a lot of this is time saving because what you're doing is you're compiling information. And the very best person working 24 hours a day could not compile a tenth of the information that we can compile in 2 seconds with the push of a button. And that's basically what we've done. We've automated the process of analyzing golfers to come up with a value formula and ultimately to come up with a spreadsheet that has exactly numbers. As we pull up our spreadsheet for this week, we're pointing out golfers that are going to get passed. Now you'll see these names mentioned on a lot of websites. Oh, well, this is a good pick for the week, so and so, but you have to be really careful when you're down in this category in the $6,700 golfer. They might do really well, but if they miss the cut, they've harmed you greatly. So what you'll see in our spreadsheets most often is the lower value players. I won't say they're impossible to pick, but the cost of picking one of these golfers, if their value is a 212, that's horrible. A 48. This guy right here, hey, he might be pretty good, but look at this guy up here. He's a 25. So Danny, we're going to color him. We'll color him green. So, and like I said, the value of these spreadsheets is it's all in one easy format. You have their salary, you have how many fantasy points they have. It's all broken down for you. And you can do more work. So it's not finished. And I don't want to produce a spreadsheet that every week I'm giving information to a million gamers out there who want to take the spreadsheet and do the exact same thing. And then you'll start seeing what you see now when you go into DraftKings and you try to play an individual. You'll see some of these leaderboards and some of these contests have picked the same exact golfers, different people. Now, either that's by coincidence or they're all reading the same, getting their information from the same place, or being lazy. They go out to the website, pick so and so and so and so and so and so, and every week they make money. That's great. I don't want to do that. I don't want to produce a spreadsheet for someone and select 5 golfers or 6 golfers and say, well, here's your golfers for the week. No, we're an intelligence gathering operation, and our job is to assign a value to all the golfers and let you do some work, let you create a column, put your numbers in, do some math, divide, use the formulas that are provided in the spreadsheets, and do your own math, based on ability, or just go to column F. Hey, this guy, I'm gonna pick out a couple of guys, and I'm gonna color them. I'm gonna color some of these guys red and green and blue and who knows what. Let's make some of them this color. And Justin Thomas, he's a local boy here from where we're at. I like him. I'm gonna make him. Let's make him purple. Okay. So, and what I'm saying is you can use these to your advantage, but if you do nothing with the site other than see the value, the final value, or our expected value, and you go to the lowest priced players, then you'll be able to pick out a good team. And based on how you want to, if you want to pick a team that maybe is unique and sort of a long shot that might win something that, rather than picking a favorite and a couple other favorites and going down the line and a couple oddballs, which are going to get matched, you might just go totally against what the salary values are and start picking 6 guys and have several $100s left in salary because, wow, this guy right here, um, man, he looks pretty awesome, and he's way down there on the list. And this guy right here, where there's a good number, this guy right here, he's way down there, and we'll pick him. And you might end up picking some of the non-favorites, and when you get ready to pick from the top of the list of the higher salary players, then you might have salary left over. But the point we're making here, and what I wanted to iterate is today, I'm going to be on again later on today, explaining and updating the website. The downloads are going to be free. I'm just going to start this website out. It's brand new. It's 2 days old. The website is 2 days old. You're getting a roster. You're getting our pro player analytical roster, and you're getting like a basic roster with some calculations as to player value. Going to make them all free. And we'll see how long that goes if we don't have any visitors to our website. What I'd like to happen is for a few people to see the live version here, or maybe come across it and take a chance, download the rosters, provide some feedback, and let me know, is there someone else out there that has a single value is there someone out there that actually produces one numerical value for every player? I don't think that's out there. Not to the extent that we're doing. The analytical and the computational formulation that we use for these players is way beyond the math that any other website out there is doing. We're using the power of artificial intelligence. And part of the whole process, and the reason why I developed a website and a YouTube channel is this is a small part. The twager.com website is a small part of the channel. What the ultimate goal is in the Bootstrap YouTube channel is to kind of inform people of how to using experience and knowledge and what I've gained. I want to help people think differently about the world we live in and start using technology to your advantage. In my opinion, the jobs out there that existed, there are a number of people and data centers and things that are going to occur that are going to strip knowledge as a commodity for workers and apply it to machine learning. And if you can adapt and you can beat them at their own game, so to speak, you can do it better than they can. There is no artificial intelligence out there right now that can pick players. In fact, I've tried. I've gone to Grok and I said, pick me 5 players, stay under the salary cap, and give me your best team. And I beat Grok every week. And the reason I beat Grok every week is I've watched it when I had them suggest 5 players. Literally, Grok could not do the math of producing the players. It would produce salaries that were way over. It would pick all these players and it would pick the top 5 golfers or 6 golfers. And then it would come back and say, oops, my salary's over. Let me try that again. And it would literally lock up. Grok would lock up. So we have time. There is time to take advantage of technology, but yet not be commanded by technology. They cannot produce the results. And if you look at some of these, I think a lot of the gambling sites right now use that technology. there are users probably out there that they're more enabled. They have more money, they have more resources, and it wouldn't surprise me if one single golfer could be handed some money, um, if somehow these gambling sites might be able to give some money toward an organization or an affiliate and kind of operate hand in hand to basically give the house an advantage, so to speak, kind of like Vegas. Uh, they don't want anybody, they do not want people to compete. They do not want anyone to sit at the table and have an advantage, because if you do, then you can literally own the entity. You could own DraftKings. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. What you can do is give yourself an advantage so that in some of the 50-50 contests where you double, half the people win and half the people lose, and there are a lot of people out there that are picking players by familiar. Oh, I like Jordan Spieth. I like Justin. Oh, I remember Ricky Fowler was a great golfer. Well, yeah, they are. But their salary is based on likability. And that's where you have an advantage of reading an actual number in column F, in this case, our expected value formula that we're using is going to give it's going to give some of those players not so great of a rating. So this week's let's go back to this week. Where are we at here? Here we are. This is this week's pick. And what I'd like to do here. So you see Justin Thomas and Ricky Fowler. Yeah, they're well-known, phenomenal golfers. But in this case, Justin had a really good week. And of course, the algorithm that I use figured that in. However, his scoring is down. His actual value at a 68, that's a high handicap. That's a lot. And in this formula, the lower the score of these players, the more valuable they are. And I would probably much rather take a Keith Mitchell down here at $8,800 than perhaps a Justin Thomas at 98. $1,000 worth of salary. Will those two do similarly? Will they have similar results? I would say that they're not going to be that far apart in the leaderboard unless one of them has a really bad round. But typically, like I said, the pros are consistent. And the consistency of these players is what denotes their value. So take advantage, go out to TWager. TWager.com is our website. It's pretty recognizable. And this is what you'll find. You'll find a little bit about what we do. You'll be able to go to the downloads page, pretty simplified at this point. Right now, we offer 3 different rosters. Coming today, this afternoon, I'll probably be adding maybe a 4th category of like someone who would like to receive the pro analytical roster, the one that we spend the time on and that has all the formulations, by email. Typically, the board the leaderboard or the salary roster is produced Monday night, Tuesday morning. We need time to take that, put it on the robotic process, and let the analytical artificial intelligence go out, and we have to do a little math in the background to produce those numbers. And like I said, it's proprietary. There's no reason for us to give up the formula. Uh, if someone produces a better formula, we'd like to see it. But so we'll have, back to what I was saying, we'll have four. We'll have the 3 sheets, and in addition, we'll either replace one of the sheets, either the basic roster, or we'll replace our improved basic roster. And we'll put a subscription where you can, like, weekly, you can have this sent to your mailbox. We might do it for free to start, and then for a small fee, if you're having success with it, and we get enough feedback that people are, if it's successful and they're using it, it's helpful, then perhaps we'll want a small fee for producing that. We've got a lot of years of developing this. It didn't appear overnight. It's been a work in progress, and it's still being tweaked. It's not done. Hopefully it only gets better. You cannot eliminate a player that has a sore thumb. You can't eliminate a player, that had a bad night, that went out and stayed out too late, or that didn't get sleep, or has a new baby. Like I said, they're pros, and a lot of them overcome that. It doesn't make a difference, but sometimes, a player's going to have a bad round, and we're not going to accept responsibility for producing bad results. Overall, hopefully we have a better prediction rate than the establishment gambling zones that produce these break-even wagers, and they want everyone to tie. They really don't want victories. But our goal is to produce numbers that show that they're better. So we'll do a subscription, and then in addition to that, somewhere I'd like to put a link with our old what we've produced so far in our spreadsheets, like a weekly. We'll put our sheet out, and at the end, what I've done in the past is I've taken the player finish and put it next to our recommendations, so that you can see the correlation between guys with not very good salary having excellent results. And guys with very high salaries that we did not recommend, that were their value pick was numbers were not good, that showed that. A lot of times these leaderboards are crammed with high name players or high value players that their salary doesn't match their abilities, and we find those. And many times when we review and look at what we recommended versus what the player finished, we'll see it in those, and it'll be a mirror, sometimes even mirror. I think the best week we've had was last week, the CJ. I think, just if you look at the CJ, and I'll put it up today, I'll put next to the CJ results, we'll show the correlation is just astronomically unbelievable, of how we were able to pull out some players who were going to be on the leaderboard. And those are the game changers. Oftentimes the leaderboard is the leaderboard. It's many players you expect, but it's a few that you don't. I think in particular, one of those was Blades Brown, who we picked. His salary, he stood out, and we highlighted him, and he's a producer, and he did, and it was unexpected. And I believe he was top 10 or top 20 finish. I believe top 10 perhaps. But without looking at it, I don't know. But I'll put all this up today. We'll offer the subscription. We're going to do a lot of free stuff because the site is 2 days old. Um, so we'll get it all updated, and I'll be back on later on. Perhaps this is my first time at actually producing a video, and it's raw and it's not very good, but we're going to work on it and we're going to get it better, and we're going to produce some results. That's the main thing. So um, enjoy your day. Hopefully it's not too warm where you're at, not too cold, not too rainy. Um, we're not golfing here. It's mud. So have a good day.